Hello and welcome to the Joe Ligato Show. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Ligato, and today we're going to be reading an article from Bloomberg on how China's economy is set to avoid a Japanese-style deflation. And so, as some people, obviously my viewers know this, but if you're a newer viewer, you probably don't know this. Japan's economy was doing extremely well up until, say, the maybe like 80s-ish. And there was a Plaza Accord that was enforced upon them by the United States. And the Plaza Accords really destroyed the Japanese economy, and so it's been stagnant ever since. And China, not allowing itself to be dominated by the United States, has figured out ways to not be stagnant, not be stuck in a middle income trap that's stopped other developing nations from being successful. And so China has really figured out the way to make sure that its country is successful in this current crisis. So we're going to read this article from Bloomberg and see, how did China do this? How did China manage to recover and manage to surpass countries like Japan? Prices in China are recovering, according to an independent survey, providing more evidence that the worst may be over for the world's second biggest economy and easing fears of a Japan-style deflation for now. Okay, so it's debatable if they are the first or second largest economy, because it depends on the metric you're using, how you're measuring the difference. Because in terms of GDP by purchasing power parity, they are actually the largest economy in the world. The all-sector price index hit 50.9 in September, the highest level in 14 months, according to data company World Economics, which first developed the Global Purchasing Managers Index, now owned by S&P Global. This suggests fears of China's price deflation ushering in a Japanese-style period of very low or negative growth have been overblown. It said in a statement, "The signs of a resumption of growth in the world's unquestioned number one growth engine over recent decades are looking a little more positive." Okay, so the vast majority of the growth that's occurred in the developing world has been in places like China. And so to see China not only be growing at an extremely rapid rate, but being able to maintain that and be a stable country is extremely exciting for other countries that may want to implement a similar model. And that's the funny thing is, I always say this, where it's like, the United States is very disparaging of the Chinese model, but if the Chinese model is working, what's there to be disparaging about? I mean, no one likes the American model. They pay lip service to the American model, but then when it comes to the actual reality, do they think they're going to be better off in 5 years, or do they think their kids' generation is going to be better off? They say no in America. And so if the Chinese system is working, what's the problem there? That's what I'm curious about. No one really has an answer for me. It's just all American propaganda. China's economic recovery has lost steam since April as trade slows and a property crisis weighs on demand, construction activity, and overall confidence. It sparked concern that China was entering a balance sheet recession like Japan did decades ago. And again, that was something that was enforced upon them by the United States, whereas China does not negotiate. They do not allow themselves to be pushed around by the United States. In such a situation, households and businesses start to pay down their debt instead of investing or spending in the economy, leading to a protracted period of deflation and economic sluggishness. So really what this entire set of articles that came out over the past few months was talking about was China was not having so much inflation that people couldn't feed themselves like in the West. They instead had a little bit of deflation where people's money actually was more valuable. And I suspect that's at least partially because of the fact that various countries around the world are demanding to use the Chinese currency now, the yuan. And so because the money was more valuable that people had, people were fearful. They're like, oh no, they can really pay for food now. Like, unlike the West where people cannot afford food. I believe it was olive oil that the price doubled over the past year. So there were just some really ridiculous concerns about China, given the fact that money was actually more valuable instead of less valuable, because the West doesn't know what to do with that, because the West consistently has their money inflating, the value of their money declining over and over and over again over time. Latest surveys. Oh, and it's also funny they talk about economic sluggishness here, because if you look at the manufacturing numbers for the United States, it continuously declines while China's stayed pretty stable, if not increased over time over the past few years. The latest survey adds to early signs of improvement. Official data by the Chinese government also showed the economy picked up in August thanks to a summer travel boom and a bigger stimulus push. Factory production and retail sales growth exceeded expectations last month, and credit demand improved. Okay. So factory production is up, retail sales are up. Okay, so people are producing more, people are buying more, people are traveling more. Okay. They say challenges remain as the property sector has continued to languish. So not unexpected. I mean, you're going to have recessions throughout your economy. And as I've talked about in other videos, I do think that recessions can actually serve a vital purpose, where you have a boom and bust cycle where during the boom cycle, people are trying new things, they're innovating, they're adding more variety, more depth to the economy. And when the bust occurs, when the downturn of the cycle occurs, that is when the pruning occurs for bad ideas. What is actually resilient enough to survive during a recession? And so if you do this right, this boom and bust cycle correctly, one, you're not going to have all sectors of the economy busting at the same time, so things are going to remain decent overall. But you're also going to make sure that if you do have a bust part of the cycle, if you do have a downturn in the economy, that you actually are solving problems. During the last recession in America, the 2007-2008 one, which is really the only recession that America has admitted to since then. I believe there was another recession that occurred during the COVID pandemic, and I do think it's still occurring. But anyways, the 2007-2008 crisis, the problems in the economy, the pruning of the bad parts of the economy really never occurred. And so you need to be concerned, because if that pruning doesn't occur, there are still those maladaptive parts of the economy that can damage the economy going forward. And so they're going to have to be pruned eventually. All they did was kick the can down the road with all of their quantitative easing, where they just threw money at the problem instead of actually getting rid of the inefficient parts of their economy. And so in this next recession, you're going to see not only the damage from the inefficiencies, the things that went wrong in the economy since the last recession, but you're also going to see the imperfections, the inefficiencies from the last recession that weren't fixed during the last recession like they should have been during the bust part of the boom-bust cycle. And so it's going to be a really, really big recession. Like it could very well be the last recession of America as a recognizable country, because it's going to be that big of a problem. And there's various people that have been talking about that. Ray Dalio has talked about that. Michael Burry has talked about that. Various intellectuals throughout history. Michael Burry, people say he's wrong about things because he consistently predicts a recession. He predicted the last recession correctly. But the thing is, the reason he's been predicting the recession is because the United States has been pushing the recession away, which just makes it worse. It's like a snowball going downhill. If you push a recession away by throwing money at the problem, which only America can do, the recession is going to be worse when it inevitably happens. Okay? And so we're reaching that inevitable point. Okay, so let's go on. The World Economic Survey showed the service sector is driving the rebound, with the price gouge climbing to 53.2 in September. The measure of manufacturers stayed below the 50 level, which indicates contraction, but at 49, the index was at the highest in 8 months, according to the statement. Meanwhile, the all sectors sales growth index increased to 53.1, buttressed by expansion in the service sector, which was at a 5-month high, although manufacturing industry was at best flatlining, according to the survey. So again, just ridiculous anti-China propaganda being spewed out. China, it's so funny because America will have like 1.1% growth rate year over year, and people will be like, woohoo, we're out of a recession, we're doing so well. And then China will have like 5.5% growth rate, so 5 times the amount of growth, and people will be like, oh, China's doomed. China's doomed now. They only have 5 times their growth. Like, it's over. You see Peter Zion just appear out of the woodwork like, this is the year China's going to lose. They're going to die. Just ridiculous statements. Anyways, that is the end of our video. Thank you for watching. Please give us a thumbs up. It helps us in the algorithm. Please subscribe to our channel for more content on YouTube and Rumble. Please leave us a comment in the comment box. I always read them. I sometimes respond if it's necessary. And thank you again for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.